Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord of hosts. Zechariah 4, verse 6. Welcome to Martial Arts Past and Present with Sensei Ed Briz. Interviews and discussions with martial artists from around the world, along with tournament perspectives.
Welcome to another show of Martial Arts Past and Present. I am Sensei Ed Briz. I would like to introduce our guest, Master Angel Lee. He was born in Asia and grew up in between China and South Korea. He's a sixth Dan, and we met recently through people we have known for decades. From martial arts to entrepreneur, Master Lee, welcome.
Thank you so much, Ed. Pleasure to be here. My honor.
I got to tell you, Angel, since I've met you, I've learned so much about so many different things. And I want to see how much we can cover here today in the short amount of time that we have. But I'd like to start with this. Could you tell the audience how you went from being born in Asia to being here in the States?
Wow, that's a long story. The short version is I'm just really lucky. Yeah. I've come from, obviously, my father was, by his heritage, is American Indian and European, but he was born in America, so he's American by birth, naturally. That allowed me to have that same benefit automatically. My mother was born in Asia, born in China, raised in South Korea. And so she told us that she felt it very important that we come to America and we create the American dream like everyone wants to. So that was the beginning of my journey, was, just having great parents that had a vision to have their children do better than they did.
That's wow. I mean, that was just that alone, not to mention everything else we're going to talk about today. Just that alone had to be a long journey for you.
It was like any kids. You don't know how difficult it is. I mean, I remember going to my mom when we came here, and I said, Mom, they have a refrigerator in their house, and they have a bathroom in their house, and we didn't have that when we came from. I said, are they rich? She says, well, no, son, they're just not as poor as we are.
How did you first get introduced to martial arts, and what drew you to it?
That's a great question. I was fortunate. My father started me at 2 years old. He was a martial arts gung fu master, and which is unique considering the fact that he's 6'5", about 250 pounds of solid muscle, to be, a master in a soft art, which he was used to being trained by people half his size. But that was the kind of the impetus of me being in that journey. I didn't know, as a child, that you didn't wake up, work out, and sweat every day, and sometimes, come back with bruises and bumps, because it was natural. And so that my start was my father's desire to make sure to pass on the traditions and the virtues of martial arts to his children.
All right. So you said you were 2 years old when you started.
That's what my father told me. I don't remember. I just know that, from day one, I was taught to stretch and do splits and do, different moves and things like that. And, it was an amazing epiphany when I realized that most kids don't do that.
Right. They don't. I mean, 2 years old. I was going to ask you what year that was, but we won't cover that if you don't want to. But 2 years old, what do you remember from 2 years old? That's very difficult. You don't remember any of it?
I don't remember it, but he showed me pictures, so the pictures don't lie. And
Yeah.
I do remember as early as 5 years old, thinking I was really good until he put me into, a training center, and I realized, wow, there's a lot I got to learn.
Uh, and that was Kung Fu, you said?
Kung Fu was the first one. Yes, Gung, they called it, Kung Fu,
Oh,
which is the
Gung
original
Fu.
version of Kung Fu, if you will. Kung Fu in America, Kung Fu more in China. And that's how he studied. And then obviously later on transitioned into other things, because as I started learning martial arts, it opened up a whole new world of understanding that what was most important was, as Bruce Lee once said so well, a tradition should inspire you, not enslave you. So I started on a
Mm.
quest of learning how to improve myself, become better as a person, and which meant I had to get better at, what I did, which was to be able to learn something that I could defend myself with.
So then, was that the only style you ever did, or did you do other styles of martial arts?
That was the first style I did. As I started looking into, some of the things, and Bruce Lee was one of my favorite people on the planet as far as learning, his philosophies, his strategies, not from him directly, but trying to understand. I use that as my North Star, if you will, to say, okay, I want to learn how to be the best I can be. And that meant, cross training. So although Kung Fu was my first style, I segment into many styles because as you meet other people that are great at what they do, if you really are humble and you're diligent, you say, please teach me, let's trade ideas.
Right, right, and that's the key thing. If you're humble,
Yes, sir.
right? If you're not humble, it doesn't work. There's too many people out there that they think what they do is the best and the only thing, and
Well,
it
they
just
might be
becomes a big
right. In
problem.
their small world, they're right. But what I've learned is, if my mother taught me this, if you don't humble yourself, life will.
That is true. That's true. I've learned that over the years. Well, I mean, I've always taken my students and said, if you want to learn other styles, now it's not good to do before, say, brown belt. But if they want to learn other styles or go to seminars that other styles are being taught, I'm all for it because there's things that I'm never going to teach them that might help them in the future.
I agree. I'm very much as like water in that fact where, I understand. I've learned in life, having had some challenges in life, as we all have, having grown up in poverty and understanding the pain that brings to the people that love you most and want to help you and take care of you when you're a child, and you see the pain they go through. That if you, as Darwin, I guess, said, paraphrasing, if the person, it's not the smartest and strongest that survive, it's those who adapt and adjust the best. So my whole life has been a ability to adapt and adjust to the situations. Martial arts gave me that core to be able to do that and still be true to me. At the same time, understand that if I can adapt and adjust in my study of martial arts, I can become better at what I want to. My whole goal is to become better at defending myself and protecting the people I love and my family. And so that was my original mission to learning martial arts. I was fascinated on wanting to make sure that I didn't just survive, but I was able to thrive in an environment. And those of you that have been into being, in poverty know that it's not the easiest road.
Mm. I'm glad you brought that up because it really is not easy. I know we've talked about this, but like I started 43 years ago, and it has not been easy. Not in the least has it been easy. So you're right. It's something you have to really dedicate your life to in order to do anything with it. Correct? Do you agree?
I do. I didn't start off dedicating my life, that wasn't,
No, none of us do.
and
None of
so,
us do.
the motivation was to be able to sit there and get better. And I ran into some great, super talented people, martial arts people that, some grandmasters of what they do, Sifu senseis, people that were extraordinary, that were dedicated to the mission of improving the art, improving their skills. And they taught me, it came down to just become a better person. And to be a better person, you have to go through life with a certain amount of values, a certain amount of confidence, and a certain amount of vision to understand that it's hard to be better if you feel bitter. And
Mm.
so when you go through, especially being, you know, I was in a situation where I'm considered what they would inappropriately years ago called half and half or half breed or things like I got called all those names,
Ah,
China boy and this and that, all the things that come up. And that adversity strengthens you. But my mother taught me early in life, she's my hero in life, by the way. She taught me early in life when things happen that you are, finding to be an adversity that are a challenge that seem impossible, you have two choices: get better or get bitter. Choose better. But to choose better,
mhm.
you have to have that core martial arts brings you, that confidence martial arts brings you, that values the martial arts keeps in you to be able to be true to yourself so that you can be better and grow, you know, instead of just go through it, grow through it.
I agree with everything that you just said because you have to grow from it. I also was one of those. I didn't grow up like you did, but I was how can I say it? The school punching bag.
Then you did grow up like I did.
Yeah. Um, I look back at it now and it's funny, but when I was going through it, it wasn't funny. Uh, you know,
You know what they say
um,
when you're going through difficult times, keep going through it. Don't stop.
yeah, yeah. It does shape your life and how you are later in life. There's no doubt. You were talking about different senseis and sigongs, and so on and so forth before. Can you share a lesser known story or figure from the history of martial arts that you've studied?
Yes, martial arts. Give you an example. I've achieved six different black belts in six different styles. Most of them striking styles, so I understand that space. You know, whether direct or circular in that fashion. Everything from my two highest level master degrees are in Kung Fu and in Taekwondo. I've achieved that in those, and the other four black belts are in styles like Hapkido and Judo and Karate and Hapkido, things that were at that time, prominent. Um, Obviously, I did boxing and wrestling, all those things too, because you want to well-round yourself and you find something that where there's a weakness in one, there's a strength in the other. So that allowed me to have the yin and yang. The story that probably comes to mind is I've been so blessed beyond measure to meet people in the journey that we all go through, and martial arts being the topic here, that inspire you, that motivate you, that pour into you. Whether it's just a handshake and meeting them and just saying hi and knowing their background and learning about them, whether it's someone who actually, has taken the time to give you that pat in the back and say, hey, you're doing good, or even some guidance to be able to, work on this, try this. Um, I have a list here, just some of the people I've been, I mean, first of all, a little known story is my mother taught me early on, she knew I would be inspired, motivated to do martial arts. I said, well, how did you know? She says, well, you may not know this, but the family story is we're on the same family tree as Bruce Lee.
Hmm,
And I was like, well, I hear that from a lot of people. He says, no, no, son, we come from that same dynasty. And so
really?
it's in your DNA. I said, well, I'm not even close to as good as he is. What happened? And no one is, right? But
No, that from what I understand.
that was the first, wow, okay. So if I have that in my blood, even a little bit, then I have responsibility to be able to try and, reach my potential. So that's a little known story. And then because of that, I've been able to meet people like Chuck Norris and people like June Rhee and heck, recently Bill Wallace, legends of martial arts. Doesn't matter what style you're at, you know these names. These are people that took it beyond the style and into a what I would call legacy.
Hmm.
And I've had friendships that I've gained with people like John Burdick, who did the Battle of Baltimore. What a phenomenal guy, with the first lightweight champion in kickboxing history. He was able to achieve that, being the world champion, the first one in kickboxing history for lightweight, with one lung. I mean, these stories you can't make up. This is so inspiring. People like that have become people that I call friends. I have the honor and respect to be able to call them a friend. Or people like Will Bittorf, who was one of my students, and I've learned so much from him. He came to my school 6'5", 120 pounds, and looked like a stick. Now he's 6'5", and 280 pounds of solid muscle, and has trained with some of the best people in martial arts. So when you start looking at little known stories, it leads you into the other areas where you go, wow, having just the pure luck of meeting some of those kind of legends and appreciating what they had to go through to get there, appreciating what they've done, and they're willing to pour into you. They're willing to give you just that little magic dust that might move you to the next level of not the next rank, but the next level of awareness and understanding of really what the arts are about, more than just the techniques, but the real spirit and the real respect and the things that will carry you into success in anything.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And another thing with that, uh, it's amazing these well-known names and all they've succeeded with in their lives. I've dealt with people who are unknown, such as myself. And they're like, "Oh, I'm Grandmaster. Oh, you bow to me now. And all this other stuff." Then you meet people like Bill Wallace. You meet Chuck Norris, and some of these other big names, Cynthia Rothrock, and all these people, and they're so nice. It's like they've accomplished something compared to these other people that think that you should bow to them constantly. And it's just, and then you talk to these people that you think you should be bowing to all the time, and they're so nice, and they sit and they talk with you. It's just, to me, it's just amazing the difference.
I agree. It gives you something to aspire to become, right? The kind of people that they are, the examples they've set. I mean, I don't know Cynthia Rothrock, but I know of her. I'm so inspired by the example she sets, and I've got to meet briefly, Mr. Wallace, Bill Wallace, with a few people, and someone who's that incredibly gifted, skilled, talented, and went through so much to get where he's at, and yet he's such a humble, nice guy, so much, so fun
Yeah.
loving. You meet people like that, and that are. I've met some of the people that Jun Ri taught Bruce Lee certain things. Um, I've met some of the kung fu experts, Daniel K. Pai, who was one of the people who helped teach Bruce Lee said taught him certain things in martial arts from that aspect of kung fu. So when I see people like that, heck, John Burdick is, as I said, what a gift to martial arts, and yet he's such a humble guy. They're all nice. My mother taught me this. Again, I refer to her because she is my hero in life. Um, and when you meet people of that caliber, when I say caliber, it's not just what they accomplished. Of course, that's obvious, but who they are. And I said, Mom, how can I be like that? She says, son, it's
Mm.
simple. Your success in anything is magnifies who you are. So if you're a bad person or a jerk, you'll be a jerk. You'll just be a grandmaster jerk. If
Right,
you're a good
right.
person, you'll be magnified to be able, and people can see that, which is why we see that in all these people we've talked about and many, many more. You know, if I'm going to be as transparent as I always attempt to be, you know, I went through that stage too when I got my first master's degree. Golly, I'm so and so, and I'm this and I'm that. I was young. I was one of the youngest masters to achieve that rank in the soonest period of time. Officially having done it through Asia, not just through what sometimes is the buy the rank kind of thing. I didn't go through that. I had to earn it. And then part of my ego went out of control for a good 2 minutes until I started looking at the pictures of grandmasters that came before me and people that
Mm.
are coming after you that you go, wow, okay, I went through that same, hey, look who I am for 2 minutes, and then I grew up. And so the people that are still going through that stage are stuck there. They just got to grow up. Those who are legendary icons are so extraordinary because they're just that good inside as a person.
I agree. You rattled off just not too long ago, just shortly before this, a bunch of things that you can learn from martial arts. Um, a lot of people don't realize the benefits of martial arts. They think it's kicking and punching, and and you learn this and you learn that, and that's about it. And I know you just rattled off a whole bunch of things, but can you come up with any other things that you think that people can benefit by learning martial arts?
Yes, and let me reiterate, you know, my son's in martial arts. He's 9 years old, and why? Does he like it? Probably not. Does he have a choice? No, not because I want him to be a world champion, but because the same reason you send them to anything. You send them to school for a reason. You send them to martial arts for a reason. You send them to academic education for a reason. I want for anyone the same things martial arts gave me and what it gives most people. That confidence to know that you have the ability in life to defend yourself, not just physically, more importantly, mentally. With mental health on the rise and issues that mental health is more important than a physical, ability to defend yourself because hey, you get a bruise, you can get up, you'll get over it. That mental health is so
Hmm.
important. So So one thing that I would say that martial arts gives people, but if you get the right instructor, and you're the right person at the time, you get the right guidance, of course, all those things being there, the ability to have the defense physically, emotionally, and mentally. As kids, when you're especially as adults, of course, but as kids, when you're going through those stages of life where you're just trying to figure out what you're trying to figure out, having the ability to have that confidence to know that mentally you're prepared, having the blessing as a parent to know that my child is mentally prepared for life. Martial arts gives you that to know as an adult that you're mentally prepared to be able to defend yourself against all of the oncoming things that happen in any life, whether you got a job or a business or a spouse or a sister, aunt, uncle, brother, or just anything. It's a constant process of being able to not just control it, because that's impossible, not to balance it, because that's impossible. Life balance is something I've learned in life. People that accomplish great things, it's out of obsession for something great, and there is no life balance. But to be able to manage it and handle things come your way, so as I said earlier, you get better from it, not bitter because of it. I would say that confidence is a big thing. Obviously, the wisdom that often that people say comes with age, although I've met a lot of people, as you said, that are older that may not have the same wisdom as others that are younger. So it's not an age thing. It's more of a, inside thing that martial arts can bring out and nurture in you. So the wisdom to be able to sit there and have that is important. The focus, in today's environment, so many people, whether they're an adult or a child, the parents want their kids to focus. The bosses want their employees to focus. The owners want their ability to focus themselves on the things that matter. So have that focus that you see of some of the martial arts champions out there. The trophy is the least of the best. It is the characteristics to have the character that comes with being, trained in martial arts by the right people the right way. Those are some things. Obviously, respect, discipline, all those things people know already. Two things I would say would be also super important to look at that are a huge benefit of being in martial arts. Perspective, because there's a big difference between perception, which is your personal feelings and emotions about your experience, and perspective, which is looking at it from a why standpoint of saying, let's look at the perspective so that I can actually make a more informed decision to be able to put my life in the right directions. And probably the biggest thing that I would say that's important would be gratitude. The ability to have gratitude for everything, good or bad, is a art, not a skill. You learn the skill, but it's not just a science, it's an actual art to be able to have the gratitude to say, I am grateful every day and every night for things that come my way. Martial arts taught me that. It didn't happen overnight. It took time, but because of that, I'm able to be a better husband, a better dad, a better brother, a better son, and be grateful for the challenges that came my way, because I'm always looking for how to get better, not how to make it easier.
Wow. I got to tell you, this is one of the biggest reasons I'm doing these podcasts is everything you just said is what I want to get out. I want to get all this stuff out to people who either interested in doing martial arts, might be looking to start it, or who've been in martial arts for a long time. They need to have these values, and all these things you just mentioned is what got me started in saying I really somebody's got to get out there and bring all this stuff out so this way people realize this is what it was like back then when we were doing it. Well, you were 2 years old, me, I was 17, 18. But these are all the things that was instilled in us back then, and now I just feel I don't know if you agree with me, I just feel a lot of it is just gone by the wayside.
I would say yes, I agree. Um, Sometimes. And here's what I mean, perspective. I look at it metaphorically, you know, when when my parents, I was doing new things, my parents like, that's not good, careful, 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 not in martial arts, but in life. And, heck, the internet was scary for them. And today it's commonplace. So what I have learned is there's a flow like a river, and it's always changing, right? If you adapt
Hmm.
and you adjust and look for what's good in it, you'll find that. If you don't adapt and adjust and look for what's bad in it, you'll find that. It's two sides
Right.
of the same coin. So I agree completely because I'm of that genre, that generation. You know, However, I remember I agree for mainly this reason. I remember when my parents did something when I was a kid, and I said, I will never do that. How could they do that? That's not right. They shouldn't do that to me. They shouldn't restrict this. And then when I became an adult and had my own child, I was like, I'm doing the same thing, a different way, but the same thing. So that's why I agree that, hey, golly, things are different. And I don't always have an agreement on what's being done. I agree with what's being done. I don't agree on how it's being done, but I do understand that there's my one of my great mentors, Jim Rome, a famous speaker, once taught me. He says, "You want to know the future? You're talking to the right guy." He's, "Let me tell you the future. I know the future." I was like, "Wow, this guy's pretty profound and prolific, or he's delusional, one or the other."
Let's find out which.
Yeah, and he taught millions and billionaires how to become multimillionaires, multi-billionaires. So I figured, okay, he understood business at least to that level. And what a brilliant guy, by the way, very ethical, very honorable. He said, "Here's the future. You're going to have opposition, challenges, obstacles, and you're going to have good things that happen. In other words, you're going to have good and bad." And that doesn't sound profound. He says, "Well, here's reality. How do I know that? Because that's happened for 2,000 years. For 2,000 years, you're always going to have challenges and obstacles and oppositions. And for 2,000 years, you're always going to have good things that happen. It depends on which one you feed." So I'm of the belief I want to feed the good. And so that's the philosophy I've taken in martial arts, where, yes, there's a lot of stuff I see that I wouldn't do, a lot of stuff I see that I may or may not agree with. But what good can I see? And let me feed that. What good can I be a part of? That's why I'm part of this. What good can I contribute to? Let me be part of that because what's the old saying, I guess, and I have a lot of these because I was taught by people who were kind of visionaries and I'm trying to learn from them. They said the only thing a good person has to do for evil to win is nothing.
That's true.
So I choose to do something.
Right. As you mentioned a little while ago, our bodies are changing, they're getting older, and I know that for a fact because I could feel it. Uh, first of all, are you still training? And if you are, how have you adapted your training due to your body changes in age?
That is a loaded question. I'll tell you why. Um, I will train for the rest of my life because I'm a big believer in you practice makes better. Teach my son all the time. The old saying I heard in English, and English was not my first language, so they said practice makes perfect. I have never met anybody perfect in my life that's a human being. So practice makes better. I get that. So yes, I'll train the rest of my life because I want to get better. It doesn't matter what degrees you have and what certifications you have. You want to get better is part of the process of life. So yes, how I've adjusted tremendously. uh, when it comes to that, it's more of how can you not adjust if you want to get better?
Hmm.
That's how we learned when we first started as white belts. We had to adjust, right? No matter how you were born, what skills you were born, what talents you were born with, what your genes were. You had great genetics, but you had to adjust. And so, um, just like in life, the same thing. You have to adjust. But how have I adjusted? Well, the reason I say it's a loaded question is some things I don't discuss very often, and it's not a big deal. I can discuss it. I've discussed it on stages around the world in my businesses. I had a significant car accident that paralyzed me for a period of time, and that pretty much took away anything that we would recognize as your identity. Meaning, I was 180 pounds of solid muscle because I
Wow.
trained really well, had a body like Bruce Lee. Um, Not as good looking as he is, but same kind of body. And woke up after the car accident in a hospital, and I was 92 pounds. So imagine that transition. You you're 180 pounds, you're winning around the world in competitions all around the world in different styles, because I was open to almost learn anything. I want to learn, I get better. You get a car accident, and all you remember is when you wake up is that used to be me, and I'm 92 pounds. And by
Wow.
the way, I'm paralyzed. And the
Mm.
doctor's first words that I heard when I woke up out of the coma was, he'll probably never walk again the rest of his life. Now, being a martial artist at that stage where I was known because I had great kicking techniques. I had, exceptional ability to flexibility and ability to move my body in ways that you'd see in movies, right? And I trained and honed that skill. And then waking up being told I can never use those skills again. That is kind of a punch in the face. Maybe for
Mm.
guys can relate to a kick in the groin. It's like, wow, that hurt really bad.
Yeah.
Um, and then having to adjust to that was difficult. The difference, I guess, being is I didn't accept it because of the values that were taught to me in martial arts. I didn't accept that that was the way this story was going to end. I didn't accept the fact that I was going to be bedridden or in a wheelchair the rest of my life, and look like the before of the after, right? You know,
Mm.
you see the
Yeah.
old pictures of the bully that beats up the little kid on the beach. And I
Yeah.
went, I went, suddenly I'm the little kid on the beach. I'm a 92-pound weakling. It wasn't going to end that way. So I didn't accept that because of what martial arts taught me, because of the confidence it gave me that I can accomplish anything if I want it bad enough, and if I do the right things and still stay the right person. I was able to turn that journey into 4 years later, taking my very first steps, learning how to walk again, having to relearn how to speak again. Because at one time I had use of multiple languages, and today that's not the case. English is not my
Mm.
first language. It's my more preferred language now because when I retaught myself how to speak, it was the main language I had to practice. Um,
Really? Wow. Very
so,
interesting.
so long story, short version is I've adapted because I chose to, because as a very famous guy named Tony Robbins once said,
It's
turn
Tony
your
Robbins. Yeah.
shoulds into your musts. Instead of saying, I should do this, there's no power in that. Even though you don't have to, make it an I must, and you can accomplish anything. So I have adjusted dramatically, not just because of age. Age is a natural factor. You adjust gracefully or you don't. I embrace age in martial arts or anything else like you would embrace. And I don't drink. I'm not, but I would metaphorically like wine. The older it gets, the better it gets. That's my mindset. And then to do that, I have to have the responsibility to make sure that comes true. It can't just be a phrase. It has to be a lifestyle. So the older I get, the better I get because I choose to change when I need to make sure I get better as I age. But because of my situation that I mentioned in the car accident, I've chosen to make anything that I want to do, instead of I should do it, I tell myself I must do it. And that's helped everything.
You're a very interesting person, I got to tell you.
Well, thank you for that. My mother always said, I knew you'd grow up, you have character inside you. I also knew you were kind of character.
We're going to get more into that interesting person that we just talked about very soon. All right. What core principles or philosophies for martial arts do you still apply to everyday? You just mentioned things, but that you still apply to everyday life.
So many, but to keep it simple, the first thing I apply is keep it simple.
Keep it
That's
simple.
that is so elementary, but also I found profound for my life because if you keep it simple, it's possible to do anything. It's possible to recover from a accident that killed me. According to them, I had died. They brought me back. It's possible to sit there and learn how to walk again. It's possible to learn how to talk again. It's possible to go from losing everything to getting 10 times more back if you keep it simple.
Mm.
If you overthink it, if you get overwhelmed by it, if you see the problem as bigger than you lose. If you
Mm.
see the problem that's beneath you and all you got to do is grow big enough to be able to overcome it, you win. So keep it simple would be the first philosophy. My mentor always taught me the same thing. My martial arts, you know, masters and grandmasters and people of high levels of success, and that taught me the same thing. Learn the basics. Keep it simple. They never said master the advanced stuff. They said master the basics. They call me kid because I was so young and I was so high energy and so driven. They'd say, master the basics, kid. Stick to the basics, kid. These are the basics. Remember going to a competition once and I'm fighting for what's supposed to be a world competition and I get in there and I'm finally at the finals and I'm getting destroyed. I'm like, wow, where did this person come from? I've fought around the world, beaten some of the best, the best, in the amateur space, and this person was better than me easily because they were genetically gifted. I wasn't,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, people like
and
you and me, we have to work harder.
yeah, so I sit down and during the rounds, I'm keeping it simple example. I asked my coach, what do I do? He says, it's real simple. Stop getting hit and start hitting them. I was like, okay,
Sounds
so
simple to me.
that's more simple than that. Now that's hard to execute on, but it was the truth. So I said, okay, how can I do that? And I started just basically moving, controlling space, understanding space control, understanding ring control, things that I wasn't doing because I was so focused on trying to fight. And the next round I did better. Now I still got destroyed, but I did better. When I
Hmm.
say destroyed, by the way, this was a grand championship where it was the super heavyweight fighting the super lightweight. Guess which one I was?
Super lightweight?
At that time, I was super lightweight. At that time, I was about 140 pounds. I was super lightweight. I'd won all the division. And now for some reason, they put you in the ring with super heavyweight for the grand championship, right? And this person is realistically at least 2 to 3 times, 4 times bigger than me.
Hmm.
And skill wise, as good or better, genetically gifted. They look like came out of those movies where you go, wow, that person, I don't want to be in the ring with them. Well, that's where I was. It's a humorous thing now to say, but back then, when you can look at someone and you hit them with an incredibly powerful kick and you bounce off them, you know that's a bad day.
Yeah, yeah, it's a real bad day.
So,
Yeah, yeah, it's
so
like at that point, you're like, what did I get myself into here?
yeah, and I came back, the next round, he told me what I just told you, hit him more, get hit less, okay. Then the next round, I said, what do I do? He says, well, it's real simple. He's fighting, so stop fighting. Keep it simple. Well, hold on,
Mm.
I'm here to fight. He says, no, you're here to win. You're not here to fight. Use your brain. Work smart. Don't just work hard.
Hmm.
That made sense. I got it. So I started using ring savvy and understanding of IQ of what really a competitor is, not a fighter, but a competitor. And so
Right.
I did what he said. Last round, knocked the guy out. Now,
Wow.
I could say it was luck, but it really was without his coaching, without good guidance from the right instructors. You can be super skilled, but not be able to apply it the right way. So because of his coaching, I was able to keep it super simple I was able, with a little
Hmm.
luck, to knock out my opponent. And here's the fun part. His coach, after the match, walked over and was angry and upset and bitter. Remember, bitter or better?
Uh-huh.
And he started yelling at me. You didn't fight. You just ran around the ring. You did this. You know. And I thought, wow, I looked at my coach and I said, I'm not bothered by this. He says, you shouldn't be. If it's true, it should bother you. If it's not true, ignore it. And he went to the coach and said, listen, I want you to understand perspective. We talked about that, right? He says, your guy did what you taught him. You taught him to fight extraordinarily well, and he did.
Hmm.
I taught my student to win, and he did.
Mm.
They did what we taught them. So in the concept of keeping it simple, it doesn't get much simpler than that. He taught me to go into the competition. It wasn't a fight, it was a competition. And how to win, where the other guy was taught it was a fight and went in to fight, and he did. He fought me and he beat me in the fight. I beat him in the competition.
Hmm.
So that's kind of one thing I would say that I've learned is that mindset is so important. Martial arts gives you that mindset. It's helped me. It's some of the things I've gained from it. Um,
Yes.
Winning versus fighting, right? The things that we've taught from day one. Tenacity, indomitable spirit, the ability to get what's the old phrase in Japanese karate we talked about: get knocked down 7 times, get up 8. Those kind of things.
Yeah. I'll tell you, when I used to compete, I went in there to fight. If I won, I won. If I lost, I lost. You always want to win, but if you won, you won. You lost, you lost. I always put in the effort that I had to in order to win. Um, but on the streets, no, I'm going there to win. If anything ever happens on the streets, I'm there to win. I'm not there to, I'm not there to just fight.
In growing up in poverty, I made money in competitions like that. That were kind of like what they call cage matches nowadays, without the cage and more street fighting. So because you have poverty, that's you use what skills you have. So my point is, there's several things in the evolution that I grew. One, growing up, it was all about fighting. That's what I thought, and I was the losing end of that fight most of the time.
Hmm.
so so I learned skills, and I learned mindset, and then it became about winning. And so I thought it was about winning the competition, winning the match, winning the fight. And I remember talking to one of my favorite people, a grandmaster who was 7 times national champion of Korea, heavyweight, like an incredible force of nature. And he said, "Well, it depends on what winning means to you." He said, "When you win, you learn nothing usually. If you lose, you're not failing if you learn. Learning's the process. Learning's how you
Right.
really win." So now it became more about learning. That was my win. I wanted to win, not just the championship, but I wanted to win in learning. And so that was the understanding. And then he sat down and said, okay, let's say you've had a lot of fights on the street, and clearly, I have scars on my hands from people's teeth, and scars on my shins from people's teeth and stuff like that. So you have those because you're competition, and sometimes you're fighting them, defend yourself. So he said, no one really wins in a fight, a real fight. But the person who learns a lesson how not to fight, how to defend themselves with their brain instead of their body, that's who will really win the most. Because as you get older, your skills for your physical skills get less, but your mental skills get stronger.
Hmm.
So
Sure.
when I say win, what I've learned throughout my years is I want to win. Winning to me means not trying to beat the other person, but just trying to become better 1% every day compared to what I was yesterday. That's winning.
Yeah. And it's true. As you stay in it and you get older, you know, I mean, I walk into a room and people don't ever think that I know anything about self-defense. I mean, I don't look like it. I don't act like it. I don't stand like it. But yet they look at me and they're like, I don't want to start with him. I don't want to start a problem with him. I don't know why. I have no idea, but I don't want to start any problems with this guy. Maybe they think I'm mentally deranged. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is.
They, I think they feel your your inner power. It's great. I walk in the room and I'm lucky they want to get to know me because I'm a good guy. And my martial arts history and background, although I'm proud of it and I believe, for that time of season of my life, it was extraordinary. I reached my potential. I did my best. I gave my best. It's a different season of life. My season now is to give back and to contribute the best I can. My season when I was at that stage of my life was to figure out how to get what I want and how to collect every medal and every trophy I can, how to win every championship, get every belt I can, how to be that and being in my accident helped me a lot because when everything gets taken from you, every illusion you have of what you are, your identity, you go from being Master Lee to being who are you, you
Mm,
know? And you start to realize, golly, I did all that so I can become better as a person to bring more value to the people that I meet and brings greater success and things to the people I love.
hmm
So so you're probably 10 times better than I was, and the guys we talked about are 10 times better than you are. I'm blessed in the fact that I had extraordinary people pour wisdom into me, and I was able to catch enough to be able to have gratitude and know that the martial arts that we all went through, the era went through, the era that's coming, the timing, it's always going to be different, but
hmm
it's the same if you're with the right people around the right people.
The instructors, the correct instructors, and that's where I put a lot of fault in a lot of these instructors. I've seen it at the tournaments that we've thrown. You saw it in September. Actually, the one in September that you were at, it wasn't that bad, but we've had problems in the past where we've had school owners going, okay, you didn't win anything, so go and here's a tag for first place, second place, and third place. Go up and get it and put on there whatever you want that you wanted. And I was like, are you kidding me? I had thousands of dollars in trophies stolen from me, first and second places, because of instructors telling their students to do this. It wasn't like the student just said, I want one. It was the instructor telling them to go get it. It's just that's another reason why I started these podcasts is because I'd like to see it back the way it was, where the instructors have more integrity. No, I'm not saying they're all like that. There's a few that don't have the integrity, but for the most part, they do. But also, they're also not teaching. Um, how can I put it? They're not teaching old school. And that bothers me. That bothers me to an extent because it's just become again. That's why I started these things. I can get into this and talk about that for the next 2 hours. But I want to. We're here to talk about you. Um, and uh, when I introduced you as from martial arts to entrepreneur. How did martial arts influence you and prepare you for the business world?
Another good question. And if I'm looking at it from a big picture point of view, I would say that martial arts helped tremendously. But let me be, more clear on that. It's the introduction to something like martial arts of the right people, as you were saying earlier. Martial arts is a great vehicle to be able to benefit people of any age, race, sex. It's the right vehicle if it has the right driver. What's the old book Good to Great, which says put the right person in the right bus on the right direction, in the right seat. So
Hmm
that's interesting. Good, great. I search for great in my life and my season now. All I spend time on is great. I don't have time for good. Meaning, used to be this is good, this is bad. That was my teenager years, and in my 20s, I was this is bad, this is good. That's bad, this is good. And what I've learned from having a chance to work with great people. Some of the people we mentioned earlier in martial arts, the Cynthia Rothrocks of the world, have not work with them, but get to watch them and model what they do. The great Bill Wallace of the world, the great John Burks of the world, the people of significance, the Chuck Norris of the world, the people like that, you can model what they do and say, okay, use that as a compass, right? So they've done great at what they do great.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned from billionaires I've worked with in business is the people that really are great at what they do, they focus on their strengths. And so I've learned my strengths in martial arts help me in business tremendously. But I've learned why is because I met the right people. As you said, it's the right instructors. The martial arts taught by the wrong people is not healthy.
Mm.
Martial arts taught by the right people, and most of them are the right people. But taught by the right people is extraordinary for anyone. It's been great for me in business and in other things in my life, for relationships and things that matter, being, my marriage and my family and my relationships with my siblings and my parents and just people that I've met throughout different areas of the world. So I'd say martial arts is phenomenal if you have the right instructors, if you have people that
Right.
are in it for you, not just for themselves or for their economics, right? So I learned early from my mother. She had a lot of great phrases, being Chinese and Korean. She taught me a lot of philosophies, as you probably hear in my thinking process, my mindset. She said,
Just a
son,
little.
there are only a little bit of, yeah, there are only a few bad people in the world. Don't think they're all bad. So I say, because when you're in poverty, you think that, think bitters, right? Bitter stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
she says, no, there are only a few bad people in the world. They just get around a lot. So don't focus on that. Focus on the right people. So martial arts taught me how to focus, and I use that focus on finding the right people. And any of the other toxic people, I just don't focus on them, because in life, what you focus on grows, right? So
Mm-hmm.
martial arts has helped me in business because of the values we talked about, not just the techniques of, learning this, learning that, how to kick, how to punch, how to work on the ground, how to throw. We all know those things. Those are things you can kind of see. And the real things that I believe martial arts has taught me personally, my personal experience, are the values and the principles that matter most, that give you the foundation to be able to sit there and be the best person you can be. And because of martial arts, learning that there with the right people has helped me so much in business in so many ways. It is allowed me to be blessed beyond measure.
That actually was bringing me to my next question. How did you go from martial arts to entrepreneur?
Unwillingly.
Unwillingly, that was it. Okay.
um,
I know I kind of asked this question in the last question, but I
Great
just wanted to.
question. Um, Again, back to my parents, because the fruits create the root, right? I mean, you're gonna hear phrases from me that are more, they're Asian phrases translated into English, right? My
Mhm.
mother at nighttime would, I guess in America, I've learned here, and I'm American by birth, because my father was American by birth. So, I'm lucky to have that benefit, and I'm a patriot and love the country. Um, but I remember there's a difference in the East versus West mindset. And here I was told by my friends that their parents taught them and read to them bedtime stories, you know, and my mother did the same thing, but she gave me bedtime life lessons, right?
Mhm.
And so that helped me a lot in understanding, things. So your parents do that for you, just like my parents got me to martial arts because my father was, martial arts advocate, and that was his passion. My parents were both entrepreneurs. Now they were unsuccessful entrepreneurs, because here's what I mean by that. Most people, as an entrepreneur, they try and do it all themselves. Imagine trying to teach a martial arts all yourself. You might get good if you're talented, but you're never going to reach your potential,
Mm.
right? You need a good
Right.
instructor and someone to teach you and someone to guide you and someone who's been there and done that and has your best interest at heart. So what martial arts did, for how I got into martial arts and became an entrepreneur, the same reason I became martial arts. My parents got me into martial arts, and I didn't have a choice. It wasn't like, what do you like to do? No, you're going to do this. Here's why you're going to do it. And you're going to do it until you master the basics, and then you can choose to quit. That's why they taught me everything I do. Anything I do, they said, if you start it, you've got to do it for X period of time. You quit after that. But until you master the basics of what you chose to start, you're not going to be allowed to quit. And that's kind of a hard thing
Okay.
for that. That's the Asian way, right or
It's not
wrong.
bad. That sounds
So,
pretty good.
so when I came to my mom, I'd seen them be entrepreneurs, my mother and father. I'd seen them, the typical journey. They got an idea, they save all their money. They don't eat for 2 or 3 days. They don't spend on things. They save and save and save and can't buy this, can't buy that. Buy the non-name brand this, and the instead of milk, you buy the powdered milk, and and so on and so on, right? And then they spend the money on a investment that either through a project or through a business, and they fail because they
Hmm.
don't know what they're doing, because it's an idea, but no one, no, they didn't go to school for that, they didn't have education for that, they didn't understand, they have mentorship, didn't have guidance, didn't have someone teaching them, right? So then they do what? Start again, save, 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 struggle, 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 another 5, 10 years, then try it again and fail. So
Hmm.
I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just knew there was a better way. Kind of like in martial arts, martial arts. My father started me. I got okay. I thought I was pretty good until I went to a different style and got destroyed because this style didn't work in those styles rules. Or I went to a different style and I accidentally broke the rules because I hit them too hard, didn't know that it was, it was a
Hmm.
different. So all these things I had to adjust, adapt. But what I learned was find someone who's in martial arts, find someone who has been where you want to get to, who still has the hunger and drive to be able to pour it into you, and then go there and show up every time, every day, and be humble enough to listen and to learn and to absorb what they're giving you and be grateful for what they're giving you. So when I wanted to become a world competitor, who did I go to? I went to world champions. My next door neighbor wanted to teach me. I was like, let's put that on hold. We can train
Hmm.
together, but I don't want you to teach me. I'm going to go to him or to her because they are great at what they do. And if they're great at what they do and I have a desire to be great, I may never be as great as they are, but I'll reach my potential. So I applied that same concept into business. I didn't want to be the person trying to do it myself and figure it out and fail and do it again and fail and have that pattern. So I went to people just like I did martial arts that were world champions at what they did. Now, there's no world champion title about being, an entrepreneur, but there are signs, people that are owners of big companies, or people that are multimillionaires, or people that are even billionaires. I want to learn from them, either directly or by
Right.
modeling them. That's what my
Right.
journey was. That's what martial arts taught me, and that's what I've done. And because of that, I've been able to achieve far beyond what anybody thought I could. Um, and blessed beyond measure.
Get some story there. I have to tell you, you have from from being a kid to now, you've really done a lot. And I have a lot more to talk to you about. The only problem is I know we're running short on time. We went a little longer than we're supposed to already. But what I really want you to talk about right now, if you can, and this, I want to spend more time on this. There's a company out, it's about 2 years old. It's called Super Patch. And I've recently got involved, thank you to you. Um, I'd like you to explain to our viewers a little bit more about what Super Patch is.
Well, thank you for that. And if anyone wanted to make extra money, this is one of the ways they can do that. That would give them a real chance to be able to learn from people that can help them, and be able to do it in a way that can be an added benefit to their life. Um, Superpatch is a company. I know the owner. I talked with him when I first looked at the project. I'm always looking for ways to be able to help other people, friends of mine, create financial health, create some kind of income for themselves. Because who doesn't want to make any extra money? Everybody. So I show them things that I've learned from literally billionaires on the strategy on how to be able to go from point A to point B. How a kid who grew up in poverty was able to become a millionaire. the first one in my family, how to break that chains of poverty, because most people aren't in poverty. But if I can do that from zero to hero, anybody can if they have the right vehicle and the right guidance. Super Patch, I believe, is a company that can help a lot of people. Feel free to go look at the website. If you're looking at a business, and that's a scary word for most people that have a job, because golly, I can't do that and have a family and have a job and have all this other stuff that I want to have in my life and enjoy it. But you can. Just like martial arts, you can do martial arts. It doesn't have to be your passion. It's my passion. Many people get involved, become passionate about it, but often they start out just because they want to have some confidence, they want to have some health, they want to have some wellness, and they want to not get beat up by the bully and know that they walk down the street, they're not going to have to worry about taking care of themselves or their family. That's why martial arts is there. I look at the same thing in finance and business. Super Patch is a company founded 2.5 years ago that is breaking every record that I know of in the online home-based business genre worldwide, period. And it's something I recommend people talk to you about. Heck, talk to me about. Instead of what they often do is they go and they try and Google stuff and they get misinformed because everything on the internet's true, isn't
Yeah,
it?
you're right.
And so what I encourage is talk to the right people who know what they're doing and get well informed. And so that's a company that is positioned to help a lot of people around the world with chronic issues they have in everything from pain to sleep to need of more energy to pick physical fitness and things like that and athletic performance. It has a solution for those. It taps into a global market. And one of the most powerful things I think about it is it's not something, it's FDA registered. That's huge. And it's registered, and it's a patch you put on your body that basically is like Braille for the brain. And there's a lot of science backing it. It's got a lot of independent clinical studies. But to really get into what it does, it helps a lot of people with things that they normally take drugs for. And they have here a drug-free solution that's FDA registered.
Yeah, I actually have a list here. There's one for extra energy. There's one for colds and or if you're going onto an airplane, you put this patch on. For focus, helps with studying. There's helps with pain. These are all different patches, as you know. But I'm letting the audience know that. There's one that helps with weight loss. If you're feeling down, or maybe tired or depressed, breaking habits such as smoking, uh, getting up and getting moving in the morning. There's one for good skin. The women will love that one. Uh, they're always complaining about that, right? Um, there's one that helps with stress, helps you sleep. For gentlemen, there's for prostate health, and for intimacy. And then there's also athletic performance. And some of these patches can actually be used together to
Well,
help it work faster and better.
let me make it super simple as we talked before, keeping it simple, right?
Yes.
I ask people simple questions. Do you know of anyone who might have any kind of issues with pain, with sleep, with focus, with health? And if you do, then I recommend that we talk to them. Why? Because what Super Patch does, it the solutions it has right now answer a $4.7 trillion market worldwide, of which 6 billion people have issues in these areas and want solutions that are drug free. And we're able to answer a portion of that. Let's say a $500 billion portion is our market share. We can answer with the solutions we have here. That's as simple as putting on a patch that has no ingredients, that has no side effects, that has no drugs, and is FDA registered and costs less than what you'd find on Amazon and Walmart. That's something worthwhile. If you have any kids that you'd like to be able to focus better on their studies, any kids that you have in martial arts, you'd like to sit there and have them have a little bit of athletic performance without any drugs, without any stimulants, without any electronic anything, just as simple as put on a patch and try it. If you have any kids, you want them to work on their homework better. If you have yourself, you want to do better at your job and you want to be able to sit there and if you have any kind of mental health challenges where you want to feel, just better, there are solutions to these. There is science proving it, and this company is the only company in the world that has what it has. That is
Yeah.
going to help a lot of people. And if you're a business person, it's going to help a lot of people financially. More importantly, or as importantly, it's going to help a lot of people in the areas that they need now that they're going online to Amazon or going on to Walmart and they're buying stuff that may have drugs in it, may
Hmm.
have chemicals in it, may have ingredients in it that are counterproductive to what else you want them to take or not take or anything that you want because your doctor says your high blood pressure, you can't take this, you can't take this. This has drug-free, no side effects, is priced right, and can't hurt, could help.
Yeah, and for the audience, stay tuned because we're going to put this up on the screen in a minute. Actually, Angel, if you wanted to, the Super Patch website is
Promises to keep. That's my moniker. I want to keep the promises I made. So PROMISESTOKEEP dot superpatch.com. I encourage that because then they can connect directly with us. They can get their questions answered correctly, and they'll see everything they need to see. And we can give them more information from that connection to text them if they choose to and want that from us directly. That'll give them even more detailed understanding and answers their questions. So
okay. Yeah, and mine is MapApp, which is MAPAP dot superpatch.com.
actually, and I recommend that more because yours is easier. So say it
Yeah,
again.
right.
Say it again. What is it?
MapApp, MAPAP dot superpatch.com.
Super. So I encourage everyone to go there. Um, instead of the typical superpass.com website, what they're going to find is more of what they need to understand, more of what they will help them the most. And then they connect directly with you so you can answer their questions where the website doesn't do that. The website you just gave
Right.
them does. Okay.
Angel, we've gone pretty long on this interview, which is very interesting, and I'm sure our viewers are going to get a lot of great information out of this. If people wanted to follow you, where would they go to follow you or find out more about you?
Great question. And I would recommend putting that up there. It's super simple. I mean, over 1 million people around the world have my personal phone number. Why? Because I've spoken on stages of 60,000 or more. I've had a chance to have some success. I've personally mentored 7 billionaires, or not mentored. I personally worked with 7 billionaires in my life and mentored multimillionaires. So my phone number, it's a US number, first way, easiest way, because as agents, we work on text all the time. So my number is 386-566-6409. Just send me a text. Now, the online version on Facebook, I'm under, Angel Lee. LinkedIn, I'm in LinkedIn pretty easily. Check on Angel Lee. You'll find me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way because I'm a business professional. But the simplest way, call me, text me. But the version of it where it's promises to keep, because that's my motto. Just so you know, to kind of delve into that. When I was living in garbage cans, when I was in poverty, in a town called Daytona Beach, Florida, when I was homeless and didn't my wasn't with my parents at the time because another long story. I was kidnapped at 8 and didn't meet my parents again until 16. Some people threw once a person threw a book into the garbage can because I had several different garbage cans I slept in because I was homeless as a child. And in that book was a poem, I think by a guy named Robert Frost that says something, and I'm sure I'm gonna mess it up, but I'll paraphrase. I have miles to walk before I sleep because I have promises to keep. So
Hmm.
I created all my stuff is under promises to keep.
That's fantastic. I got to tell you, Angel, I have a whole bunch of questions I skipped over, only because of time wise. I want you to come back so we can talk more. But I want to thank you for allowing me to interview you today. I've enjoyed this. Your story is awesome. And I would like to bring you back to have the audience hear more of your story, like fill in the details that you weren't able to fill in today. So hopefully we'll have you back for that. If you're interested, we would love to have you back again. So
I'm
thank you.
honored anytime. I'm impressed and enthusiastic about what you're doing, Ed, with this podcast. Through people like you, I've met so many amazing people, martial artists, some of them legendary people. I'm grateful. I'll help and be of service any way I can. Absolutely. Thank you for allowing me to be of service here.
Thank you, Angel. It's been a pleasure.
Make sure you look into Super Patch. It's great for boosting immunity, athletic performance, pain reduction, and much more. Visit mapap.superpatch.com to learn more. Thank you for joining us today. To learn more about us, visit our Substack at martialartspastandpresent.com. If you would like to support us, go to patreon.com/martialartspastandpresent. If you like the content and have not yet subscribed, you can find us on all of the major platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.